Hey, welcome to YMA Matt Chat. It's Coach Les and Mr. Yarwood here again for episode number 60. Woo! 60, 60 episodes. I was going to say visions, versions, episodes of how to level up in leadership, how to level up in all of the things that martial arts create for you as an individual. And I want to welcome all of those of you that are watching now, that are coming in live on X and on Yarwood's Martial Arts Facebook. So thank you for being here. Stick around. Tonight's conversation is about real life application of martial arts leadership. Like, what does it look like? And when we take it to school, when we take it to work, when we look at our own personal relationships, what is it about it? The discipline, the talent, the code, what is it and how does it impact each and every one of us? So we're going to share about that today from the aspect of the lead instructor here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in Champlin, and from one of his students, me. And although I've been away from the dojo for a little while due to an injury, I'm coming back. So over to you, Mr. Yarwood.
Yeah, we talk a lot about what leadership is, what it looks like, how we can be leaders, that kind of stuff. And when I teach my kids their martial arts, the actual physical martial arts, one aspect that we teach is what we call practical application. And that's like, what do the moves actually do, right? We can do, any number of blocks or strikes or kicks, but we kick in the air, right? We don't necessarily have a specific target that we are looking for. We have a targeting, like, okay, I want you to kick in this wherever, this range. I want you to strike wherever. But if they don't know what the move is actually doing, then they really don't. It's not really, they're just kind of moving their hands and feet around, right? So we apply practical application to it where we show them exactly what the move is by having an actual target, a person like me standing in front of them. All right, I want you to do this. Here's where your punch is going to go. Here's what this move does. Here's where you're blocking, right? And it actually gives them a physical visual of what they're going to do, right? Of what the move does. So when we talk about leadership, that's kind of what we're trying to get at is how do you apply leadership? The things that you're learning, the respect, the showing other people what to do, the doing things that you want other people to do, all those things that we talk about, how do we apply those in the real world? So talk about discipline, respect. How do we use those? What do we do? If we're a kid in school, how do I apply my leadership skills if I'm just another kid in class? What can I do as a leader, right? We talk about, if you're in the classroom and kids are, they're causing trouble, what can you do as a leader to either combat that or show them what it is they're supposed to be doing? Do you help the teachers? Do they need help cleaning class afterwards? Do they need help passing out papers before class, picking papers up, putting things up, after school or whatever, there's all kinds of things that you can do to step up and be a leader. When you're in the cafeteria with other students, are you showing everybody else, your peers, how they're supposed to act as a leader? Are you putting all your tray, the tray away and throwing all your stuff away? Are you picking up things on the table that aren't necessarily yours and throwing them in the trash? Are you picking stuff off the ground and putting it away? Are you taking other kids' trays up? There's so many different ways to show leadership, and they're just little subtle things, but they send a message to your friends, your peers, your teachers that you're a little bit different than everybody else because you're stepping up and doing these things, even though it might not necessarily be your job. You just recognize something needs to get done, and instead of looking around hoping somebody else is going to do it. You go take care of it yourself. You can do that at work too. Maybe you have a specific role in your job, but you know how to do other things, and you see something needs to get done, and you, instead of waiting for the guy whose job it is to do that, you go help him out, right? Maybe your boss needs a little extra help in his office. Who knows, right? Go help him out. And it's not about like brown nosing or trying to get extra credit or any of that kind of stuff. It's just being the person that you're supposed to be. Do the stuff you're supposed to do, right? Maybe you work in the office at a warehouse, but the guys in the back are doing inventory and they're getting behind, right? You want to go help them out. Hey, can I give you guys a hand? I got a half hour free. Let me come help you out. It's little things. They don't necessarily look like leadership to people, right? They don't say that's not what a leader does, but actually that's what a leader does. They're humble. They lead by example, right? So that's real life application, is going and doing those things that you see need to get done, helping people. If you're helping somebody who can't give anything back to you in return, right? You're doing it because that's what you're supposed to do. That's leadership. When there's so many different ways to look at it, and you can, whatever environment you're in, you can think of 100 different things you can do to step up and be a leader. You're not necessarily telling people what to do. You're not necessarily in charge of anything. You're in charge of what you do. And when you do those things, it sends a message to the people around you that, hey, that guy's got it going on. He's a leader. And that's how you apply it in the real world.
And, and the piece for me that I always add to this, right, is integrity.
Yep.
Right. And because, yes, I know I'm known as the integrity coach. And by the way, that doesn't give me a halo, doesn't make me any different than anybody else. I have just as much difficulty, just as many trials and tribulations at keeping my word as anybody does. So the opportunity with that is to be really responsible for, as I speak, my words create a world and create a reality. So therefore, one of the things that I want to be responsible for in that is looking at, how do I honor my word? How do I create that empowering conversation for possibility with every word I share? And as a leader, it's my responsibility to maintain the integrity of my word. And even, on the mats, everything that I do, right, and yes, I know I'm older now. I've got gray hair. People look at me and go, oh, he's old. So, he must have some wisdom. Maybe we ought to listen to him. No, I don't rely on that at all. In fact, for me, that's the slippery slope to patheticness.
Yeah.
I continually level up my game, level up my intensity. For instance, I just signed up for my another area that I'm going to be coached in 2026, and and I'm looking to be held up to certain standards in my training. And then my board of directors, they hold me to a certain standard. So for me, I look at, and being married, I'm sure, Mr. Yarwood's will have something to add to this. As a married person, there's a code there. There's a specific way of being as a married person that you want to exhibit out there in the world. And, in the beginning for me, and some of you may know, I've been married before, and in my relationships before, I didn't necessarily have great integrity. I used things that changed to allow me to change, to allow me as an excuse for me to not honor my word. This time around, I gave my word specifically, and I gave my word specifically regardless of whatever my partner, my wife, currently, whatever she does. It has nothing to do with what she does. It is me solely, me being responsible for me. Right? Today, I think a lot of time, and I just watched a YouTube video on this of a teenager going into court for a speeding offense. And it was like the 6th one they'd had. And she showed up and she goes, yeah, my parents will pay it. Just give me the ticket and what I need to pay and my parents will pay it. And then she was on her cell phone in the courtroom. She had her headphones on and the judge, was like, look, you're not showing respect. And she had traveled in excess of 85 miles an hour coming around a corner in a BMW in a school area where this 68-year-old woman was taking out the road sign to have people stop to let the kids cross.
Jeez.
And she flew back and tripped on the curb and fell back. And, the police, were sitting in the parking lot waiting for speeders just down the way. And of course she gets, ends up having to go in. And because of her attitude, because of her lack of responsibility, of accountability, of any of it, and her parents, were absolutely ashamed of how she was being in court. And yet, when you look below the surface, she'd never been trained. She'd never been taught. She'd never learned what it was to have respect for your elders, respect for a judge, respect for somebody speaking to you. She's a teenager and she's got her headphones in and she's texting. And she was doing it in court. She had her phone as she was sitting there up in the box. She had her phone on. The judge said, put your phone away. So she sets it down, face up. And when it flashed for a text, she picked it up to read it. The judge goes, what are you doing? He ended up having to have the bailiff come and take her phone away.
Wow.
And lo and behold, when her mom said, yelled something from, where she was sitting, the daughter looked at her mom and said, Mom, don't embarrass me. When it was exactly the opposite, right? But you can see how that there was none of this leadership in the home. Mom and dad gave the kid everything, everything she wanted. And it wasn't that she was a bad kid, right? Even the judge said, you're not a bad kid. You just have no respect for the law, what could possibly happen. Nothing happened to the woman, right? And she didn't hit anybody, luckily. And the teenager goes to the judge, well, nothing happened, so why am I even here? I have a nail appointment at 2:00. Oh my God. I almost peed my pants. I was laughing so hard when I listened. And here's the thing. That is the epitome of our society today. Right? It was such a great demonstration of what is lacking.
Yep.
We don't teach leadership in schools. We don't teach respect. We don't teach honor. We don't teach people how to react and be in a certain environment. And we don't know how good we have it.
Yep.
So for me, when I see what happens in the martial arts dojo, it is so freaking powerful because it's done in a way and by people, i.e. instructors, i.e. you, Mr. Yard, and it's done in such a way that the students don't even know they're hearing some of the things their parents might have said 5 years ago.
Yep.
And then you hear the comments, because I've been working with you and I've talked to parents and stuff. And some of the parents would go, I can't believe Mr. Yarwood says it once. And I've been, me and my husband, me and their father have been saying it for 3 years. And he didn't say it any differently.
Yep.
So it's all of this is, I just think it is so wonderful to have for us having these conversations and creating this real life application, right, of the martial arts leadership and how it relates to out in the world. All of this integrity. Back to you, sir.
Yeah, it's and you talk about telling people what to do, telling them things, right? I found that is the least powerful way to lead somebody, because more often than not, if they hear anything at all, they only hear bits and pieces, right? And they kind of put things together and they apply it to what they think they heard or an interpretation of what you said, right? When you're doing something, when you're showing them, right, they're seeing it. And when they see it, it's way more powerful of a message that gets sent, because they're watching somebody that they maybe is an authority figure to them, or somebody that they look up to, or somebody who's a mentor, and they see that person doing something, right? Not telling them something, doing something. And they go, I want to do something like that. I want to be like that, right? When you say, I need you to do this, it's like my mom used to say, it goes in one ear and out the other, right? Yeah. Some of it sticks on the way through, but very little. And when I do it, when I show my instructors how I want them to be, by doing it, they see me teaching, they see me interacting with students, interacting with parents, interacting with teachers, interacting with whoever. They see the example being set by me, and they follow it. I see it all the time. Mr. James, my son in particular, he learned by watching me, right? Same thing. I'm a dad. I can say something to him 100 times, but I do it and I show him. He sees it and then goes, that's how I want to do it.
Well,
I want to be like that.
He just sees it. He sees the implication and the results of it as well.
Yep.
Right. So he sees it. Yes, he sees it. Right. Yes, he hears and what. He also gets the benefit of seeing the results live and in the moment.
Yep.
Which I think, which is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I could just imagine if all of a sudden the schools became like that.
Yep.
Right. I mean,
we're trying to do our part with that. It's like he is a essentially, for lack of a better term, a Phi Ed instructor at a local homeschooling place, right? So once a week, he's in there. He's the Phi Ed instructor, and he's teaching them physically martial arts, but he's also applying all the stuff we do in our school to them. They're learning by watching him and learning from him the things he's learned from me. And he's taking that, and I'm not there. Like, I'm not in person there, but I know what he's doing because I've seen him in action. And I know he's applying all the stuff that we apply in our schools there. There's 75 kids there, right? He's having impact on them.
Amen.
They're watching him. They're learning from him. They're seeing him, right? So they're taking that home with them. Maybe they have siblings, right? And those siblings are seeing the older sibling do the things they're learning in this class, and they're like, I want to be like my big brother, right? Well, that kid saw Mr. James do it, and is like, I'm going to be like Mr. James. And Mr. James saw me do it. He's like, I want to be like my dad, right? whether he physically says it or not, he sees it. And like you said, he applies it and the impact, and he sees it. Then he goes and takes it somewhere else. That's the impact leadership has, is because it gets passed forward and it gets applied over and over and over again. And you're everywhere you go, you're a leader. You're acting in such a way that people see what you do and how other people respond to what you're doing. And they're like, I want some of that. I want to do something like that. I want to be like that, right? Like I said, it's not necessarily a conscious thing. It might be a subconscious thing. They see something, and down the road, like their brain says, "Hey, remember when we did this and we saw this?" And they go do it, right? They didn't know. They might not even know that they did it.
And then that becomes the standard.
Yep. And it's relationships. You know, like I have a relationship with my son, with my wife, with my friends, with you. Everybody I have relationships with, I'm a leader. Not because I tell myself I'm in charge, but how I act, what I do, how I talk to people, how I interact with people, how I walk, how I talk, what I say, who I say it to, all these things. That's leadership, right? No matter where you are, if you are with a group of people, whether it be 100 people or one person, you're a leader. There's no way out of it, right? And whether you're a good leader or a bad leader, that's determined by what you do and what you say, right? You're still a leader, but you're not necessarily always a good leader, because if you're out of integrity and you're doing things you're not supposed to do, people see that, right? They apply that as well. Just like if, Mr. James is goofing around doing things he's not supposed to do at venture school and they see it, I get to do it too because Mr. James does it. It's still leadership.
And I think, one of the things that I know people often confuse, right, between leadership versus management.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And, to clarify it, and I think this is, probably the best way that I can describe it, is leadership focuses on inspiring. It focuses on inspiring innovation, challenging the status quo of life that's out there, and achieving what I would say are new and better outcomes, leveling you up, right? Like that's leadership. Management is often about maintaining, like it's managing the status quo.
Yep.
Through functions, managers have to plan, they have to organize, they have to control, making sure that things are controlled so that they can predict the results being this way. What's different with a leader, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that are trying to build their companies. They're working in their companies and they're doing their best to instead of working in, work on, right? Like step back and work on the business. In doing that, as a leader, they've got to inspire and get somebody else, challenge them to grow and step up, to step into their shoes, become a mini me, right? And so that they can then step back. So it's more than just managing.
Yep. I think of management as like you got your arms out and you're kind of guiding people down a specific thing, keeping them from getting out of
corralling them
out of the boundaries, right? Oh, don't go there. No, oh, don't go there. You got to go over there. Have a seat over there, right? You're guiding them to where they need to go versus leading them where they need to go, right? You're behind them, shuffling them along, whereas if you're a leader, you're out in front. You're showing them where to go. You're doing it yourself. Managing, you're getting them to do what you want them to do without necessarily showing them. They already know what they're supposed to do. I just need to make sure you're doing it, right? That's management. And while obviously management is important, but it's not leadership. Just because you're the manager doesn't mean you're the leader. And within that group, there's probably somebody who steps up and takes care of things, right? That's why we create that. Like for me, my son is starting to step up into roles that he's learned how to do, and I can step back and now do other things, bigger picture things, because he's handling these other things that he's learned and watched me do, and now he's like, Dad, I want to do that now. Let me do that, right? And I didn't necessarily sit down and teach him specifically how to do it, but he's watched me do it and he's figured it out, right? But he's noticed, okay, I see him doing this, I see him doing this. Now I want to do it, right? That's what a leader does. Versus a manager is I'd be sitting him down and say, here's what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to do it. While that might be okay, it's not going to be leading him to where he needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some of the things that I think I associate with with leadership, like some of the skills. One, communication,
Mm-hmm.
decision-making skills, emotional intelligence that we acquire through time, being in that goal setting, right? And being able to delegate so that you're not always the one doing all the work. Problem-solving skills. And some of those problem-solving skills may be using other people to help solve the problem.
Yep.
And then, the one that, I've spent my life game at, and that's integrity and adaptability, right? Looking at how do we adapt to a situation in this new world and promote leadership.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it before, is listening too. Listening to your, maybe there's your subordinates, or maybe they're your peers, or maybe they're your boss, right? But if you're a leader, if you're doing more talking than listening, you're not leading, right? Listen to your people. Think about if you're you have your job, you have 10 people that work underneath you, right? They're all out in the field. They're doing, maybe they're doing sales or doing deliveries or doing inventory or whatever they're doing. They're literally doing those things, right? As the leader, you're not necessarily doing those things. So you might have an idea about how I want this done, right? And you go to that person who actually does it and you say, I want you to do this. And they say, yeah, we've tried that it didn't work, right? This is how we've been doing it now. Or this is a different way I think might work better. Let's try this, right? And if you're the person in charge and you say, no, do it my way, you're not listening to that person, right? But if you say, you know what, you've been doing this is what your thing is, let's try it your way and see if it works. If not, then let's try this, right? Listen to them. If they have some understanding of what's going on, why should you tell them to do something differently if you don't even understand what it is that they're doing, right? A good leader will sit and listen and take it in and say, hey, here's what I need you to get done, and then let them do it how they think it needs to get done, versus telling them exactly how to do it, right? You give them the parameters. This needs to get done by this amount of time and in this way. Now go do it, right? Give them the opportunity to come up with a plan on their own and figure it out, versus saying, this is exactly how it needs to be done. I don't care, right? You lose respect for the people that are around you, your colleagues, your peers, your subordinates, because you don't listen to them.
It's like martial law.
Yep. They stop at some point. They stop wanting to even contribute because you never take their advice. You never take their ideas. You just tell them what to do. And then I think that's like in a company, that's when innovation stops.
Amen.
Because they stop wanting to try to do better because you always have all the answers for them. You don't allow them to flourish and figure things out and grow your company.
They become robotic.
Yep. They just come in, punch a clock, and go home when they're done.
So I wanted to share, I've got 6 types of leadership kind of to leave us with as we wrap up here, as we hit 30 minutes. Number 1 is authoritative leadership. It's characterized by a strong and decisive leader who takes charge and provides clear expectations for their team members. Right? It's clear, it's direct, right? But it also has limitations, as we were just talking about, because it takes away the autonomy of team members. They become, what I call clock punchers.
Yep.
The second is autocratic leadership. Leadership style where leaders have complete control over decision making and rarely involve their team members in the decision making process. In this style, the autocratic leader holds all the power and authority, making decisions based on their own judgment without seeking input from others. So autocratic is even one step hardcore, more than authoritative in It's all mine.
Yep. Me.
Me. The next is transactional leadership. This focuses on setting clear expectations, establishing rewards and consequences, and maintaining regular feedback and communication with team members. Hello, people on the front lines.
Yep.
Number 4, a laissez-faire leadership. I'm not
Hands off.
Yeah, the hands-off leadership style is characterized by a leader's minimal guidance and involvement in decision-making process. The limitations to this is a lack of structure. It could lead to confusion, lack of direction, and, struggling to prioritize. Right? So number 5 is transformational leadership. When leaders inspire and motivate their team members to achieve a shared vision and exceed their own expectations. These leaders have a compelling vision of the future and use their charisma and passion to inspire and influence people. To me, transformation leadership is the bomb, starting to be the bomb diggity bomb.
Yep.
Right. Mahatma Gandhi was a transformational leader, inspired a nation to pursue nonviolent resistance to the pursuit of independence. Right. Steve Jobs with his visionary leadership at Apple Computer.
Yep.
The last one is it's 2 more. Sorry, I apologize. There's 7. Servant leadership. Servant leadership places a strong emphasis on serving the needs of others and prioritizing the well-being and growth of team members. Servant leaders act as stewards, focusing on the development and success of their team rather than their own personal achievements.
Yep.
They display empathy, humility, and a genuine concern for the welfare of others.
That's the best kind of military leader.
Yep, there you go.
Looking out for their men.
And then there's the last one is participative leadership, where leaders actively involve team members in the decision-making process and value their contributions. Right? It's most effective when diverse perspectives and expertise are required to solve complex problems or make strategic decisions. So now we're surrounding ourselves.
Yep.
It's kind of like when a governor or a president goes into office, they create their own cabinet, i.e. their own team around them.
Yep.
And if they're smart, they create a well-rounded team that isn't just focused.
They find people who know more than they do.
Yes.
You should never be the smartest person in your group.
Nope. And if you remember, do you remember when Jesse Ventura was governor of Minnesota?
Yep.
The one thing that he was absolutely phenomenal, and no one has surpassed him, was creating his cabinet. His cabinet was bipartisan, and it was filled with the smartest individuals in the state of Minnesota. It was impeccable. So with that, we've hit our 30-minute. We're at 35 minutes. I want to thank the people that have been watching. There've been 8 or 9 or 10 people. One person gave us a big heart. That's Rena Torocampo from Facebook. So thank you so much. We do love feedback. We do love seeing that we make a difference. It's not a necessity because these are out there forever. They're on all the different social media platforms they're on. And thank you once again. Thank you for allowing this space to happen, managing it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And Mr. Yarwood, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
With that, here we go. Get a little bit of